This week on the original Rochester Press Box.
I'm Tariq Spence. I'm talking about the quarterback carousel in the NFC East. Boy, does it get interesting.
And I'm John DiTullio. I'll tell you why the Vikings are a joke.
And I'm Mike Catalana, and I'll tell you why NFL really does stand for not for long.
I'm Bill Pucko, attempting to solve the cultural divide here. Join us on the original Rochester Press Box this weekend. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the original Rochester Press Box. I'm Bill Pucko, joined by, as always, WHTK's John DiTullio.
Great to be here, Billy.
Funny.
It's great to
keep it up.
Being here, I had so much fun.
Mike Catalana.
Good to be back.
WHAM News, and it's our pleasure to welcome in from WDKX, Tariq Spence.
Happy to be here.
Tariq, the conversation over the last week, and there's no escaping it. Adrian Peterson has stolen the spotlight from Ray Rice. It's a terribly involved issue. Everybody has an opinion about where to draw lines on things. How's the discussion going with the people that you deal with every day?
Two separate discussions. One on spanking in your view. Do you agree with spanking or not? Number two, how far should it go? And Adrian Peterson went over the line. A lot of people find it hard to believe that somebody would be arrested for spanking until they see maybe the photos that have already been leaked. I don't know if they've been taken down now. And I think when you see those photos, it changes everything. Ray Rice was video. When you see the video, it changes everything. So it's really two fights we're having here. One, whether you agree or disagree with spanking, your opinion, and did it go over the line? It did. And so now you're stuck in a situation of, well, now what do we do? Because the legal world has taken their step, but the court of public opinion is still out there.
You know, who's qualified to say where that line is drawn?
Well, Adrian Peterson himself said he went over the line, right? Didn't he text the two different women with the two kids and tell them both at some point, I think I went over the line? And we're way past spanking on this, aren't we? This isn't smacking the kid on the butt, telling them don't do that again. This is injuring a 4-year-old. In terms of what's right and wrong, I don't know of many people who would look at that and say that's okay. First of all, I would argue, what do you think you're teaching a 4-year-old? I think you want your child to have a fear of you as a parent in that I'm going to be mad, but not be afraid of you as a person. And you can get into the whole discussion of what kind of parent Adrian Peterson is. And yet now you're really going to the moral stage because he has a lot of children, different places, different women. He's not living with them. That's a separate issue. That's him as a man and what you think of him. But in terms of when you saw the pictures of the child and it alarmed the women and doctors were called in, I think it's pretty safe to say it's over the line.
There's no debate what Ray Rice did was heinous, but there is a debate whether Adrian Peterson crossed the line. I don't believe in corporal punishment. I've slapped my daughter once, and she's 10, and I felt bad about it. Never did it again. I was slapped as a kid. Didn't like it, but it worked. But that's not, just because it worked doesn't mean it makes it right. And I think where Adrian Peterson went way over the line, and what I didn't like throughout this whole week was the fact it took the Vikings, I don't know how many days to realize he was wrong. It took the league to realize what Adrian Peterson did was wrong. But he has his core of supporters out there. And I think that's why this was not an easy situation to delegate or relegate, because he did have a lot of support from high-profile people, like we mentioned, Charles Barkley, Tony Dungy, in the corner of Peterson.
So how do you address somebody who says, hey, my dad did it to me, I came out okay, and that's the argument you hear a lot. You've had remarkable patience on the air, taken calls from people who have voiced that opinion and believe it. It's something different to deal with.
But it crosses across all different cultures. It isn't just African American. It's religious. It's even demographic. You know, you'll have older generations say, "I was spanked as a kid. I turned out fine." These sort of debates. But once again, let's not take it specifically to spanking. Let's take it to where's the line on spanking? Because we don't know where the line is on spanking. Apparently, because some people are defending him. I think the people that are coming to his defense are saying, I believe in spanking. Fine. Do you think he went over the line? That's all that matters here. It's not a spanking debate.
But who makes that decision? Charles Barkley? Tony Dungy?
Now the law.
Roger Goodell?
No, they're all opinions of a culture, but different people have these. More in the South, more with Republicans or Democrats. This culture, that culture. It's there. It's whether or not he went over the line. He went over the line.
It's far more troubling than the Rice incident to me because it has so many different pieces.
You're right. But how about this? All these people who said, I didn't need to see the video of Ray Rice punching his wife to make a decision. If there was video of big Adrian Peterson injuring his 4-year-old son, do you think that would even have a little more impact on people? Because you think of it, you say it, you see these pictures, and people go back to spank. It was not spanking. It would be like saying maybe that Ray Rice pushed his wife. He didn't push her. He punched her in the face and knocked her out. Adrian Peterson injured his 4-year-old son. That's the way I looked at it. So in terms of corporal punishment or abuse, even he says he went over the line.
We're not talking about a teenager. We're not talking about a 10. We're talking about a 4-year-old child.
So many moving
Heinous.
parts. And the thing is, you never know. It's going to be discussed for, I think, God help us if this goes to trial at some point. We'll be back and talk a little football when the original Rochester Press Box continues. It's the Challenger Miracle Field, and it's being built in Webster for our physically and emotionally challenged friends. It'll cost $500,000. Opening day is 2016. You can help make it happen. Check it out, webstermiraclefield.org. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box. Bill Pucko with you. Time to talk a little football. John, the Buffalo Bills, 2-0 start. First place alone in the AFC East. Pretty good.
What's amazing to me is the fact how good this defense is. The defense, to me, could be elite. That front four completely dominated, albeit a makeshift line for the Dolphins, but we've seen it now 2 weeks in a row where they've done an excellent job against the Bears and Dolphins. That defense, I'm going to compare them. I'm comparing them to the Jets of 2009 and 2010. They can be that good with a quarterback in Mark Sanchez. Reminds me a lot of E.J. Manuel. Manage the game, run the football, good special teams, great defense. Now, I'm not here to say the Bills are going to win 10, 11 games and play in the AFC Championship, but the blueprint is there for success from what Rex Ryan did with the Jets in 2009 and 2010. I think the Bills can be that team.
Mike, San Diego's in this week.
Yeah,
this is a legitimate team.
Oh, San Diego is good. The coming East part, I looked up some of that stuff. They've had to do it a lot because they haven't been as high profile as, say, San Francisco or Seattle or Denver. So when they come east, a lot of times it's a night game or a late game. They did it 4 times last year, 4 times the year before. They're 2-2 doing that. So they're used to that point. But to John's point about the way the Bills are playing, EJ is doing enough right now that allows everyone to see how talented the rest of the roster is.
Yeah.
EJ has been good enough that you go, wow, the defense is good, special teams are good. Yeah. Because if he was lousy and they were turning it over and not making any plays, the defense would still be all right, but they'd be on the field for 40 minutes a game. Instead, last week, efficient, move the ball, you got the lead, and then the defense attacks. It is the right formula. Dare we say it's the same formula Seattle had, except, hyped up more because obviously that defense is great, and Wilson became that guy. But look back at Wilson as a rookie. He was more of a game manager and then became more of a player. It's a formula that can work.
I find it so interesting, the leadership of E.J. Manuel. I think when you just said that, I think we're watching a leader grow up. First week out, had that sort of team meeting before the Bears game. They go out, get a big win. Of course, everybody's looking for the first home game. Now it's the Chargers. Now we come to a team that's 2-0, but coming off that Seattle win, now we'll see if they are going to ready for a letdown. Can the Bills beat a legitimate team now in the league? This is fun to watch. And, Bills fans, I feel good for them because they've been waiting for this. They've been waiting for a new owner that's not going to move their team. They've been waiting for something good to happen. And Doug Marrone, the decision for C.J. Spiller to return kicks, I think it's a really good move. Everybody's trying to impress the new owner, and it's working.
Kick us off here. Let's pick it.
For the Bills game?
The line is, Buffalo's favored by 2.
I'm not picking against the Bills. It's working. The magic's working. So I say Buffalo by 7.
All right, you?
I normally would look at this and say, okay, it's San Diego coming in. I like San Diego. Phillip Rivers is efficient. He moves the team down. They do a lot of things well. But I'm with Tariq on this. I'm not going against him at home. I've got the Bills winning at 27-20.
Me too. I am not coming off a big win, traveling. I'm talking about San Diego. Now I got to come to Orchard Park, the loudest joint. No Ryan Matthews. I'm going to go with the Bills. I'll take Buffalo in this game. I'll take it 26-17.
The crew has them too. This is 3 weeks across the board with the Bills. It's embarrassing where we've all been on one side or the other. I go there too. I think they've been lucky because they catch Miami after winning against New England at home. They got to come to Buffalo. San Diego beat Seattle at home. They got to come east to Buffalo. These are luck things, and that's just trying to, regardless of how the Buffalo Bills are playing, simply as a sports gambler, I like the Buffalo Bills in that spot.
Ryan Fitzpatrick and E.J. Manuel, both 3-0, man.
Wow.
Going
All right,
head next week.
Secondary game. You've got
Saints. Saints have had a tough loss at Atlanta, an embarrassing loss to Cleveland. They'll take their anger out on the Vikings, who if they show up today, it'll be a miracle. I think they get hammered. Drew Brees and Sean Payton and Rob Ryan take their anger out on the Vikings. I got the Saints covering 9.5 easy today over Minnesota.
I got San Francisco winning at Arizona, bouncing back. I think they're a much better team.
All right, I'm going to close my eyes when I say this, but I'm going to pick the New York Giants.
Mike, don't do it.
Oh,
They're getting points at home. They were embarrassed again last week. Many of their mistakes are self-inflicted. They're trying to make a lot of changes. And Houston does not look like a 3-0 team to me. Giants are getting 2.5 at home to Houston that lost 14 games last year. But I'm going to take the Giants to get their first
Tariq,
win.
your best game.
Braver man than me. I'm a Giants fan, and I'm staying away from the Giants. I'm going with Carolina to be beaten by the Steelers. I'm going with the Steelers in that game.
And get points.
And get points. I think what's interesting about this, I'd like to know if the Greg Hardy thing has affected that team a little bit more as well. Remember, a lot of debate on whether he should have been on the field. I like to see them go up against a Pittsburgh team that's really scrapping to try to keep their team together as well.
Okay, and the crew likes the Bears on Monday night getting points at the New York Jets. Like it or not, when we return.
And you don't need to be Native American to realize it is offensive. And it's not politically correct. It's the right thing to do.
He was an idiot for throwing him that pitch. The guy's phenomenal. He had no reason to give him anything, especially a fastball to hit.
It's simply that these two guys, Ronaldo and Tom Brady, are too good looking.
I like it, just don't admit to it.
Everybody wants to hate on the best in the world. You know, he's here to stay, and he wants to build something big time.
The bottom line is, still nobody's going to like A-Rod.
Welcome back. This is the original Rochester Press Box. Bill, John, Mike, and Tariq. Like it or not, Tariq, Tony Stewart and a possible sending to the grand jury of this tragic case from Canandaigua.
I don't like it, but I know that the legal system has to take its course, and especially for Ward's family, make them feel as if, you know, at least it was looked into, given to the grand jury. Let the grand jury take their time, go through this. There are a lot of questions about Tony Stewart's career and how he is or who he is as a person. I don't know who Tony Stewart really is. I think we just see somebody who's passionate about his sport. Did he lose control that night is the ultimate question. The only thing to do to respect to their family is to take it to the grand jury.
And I almost look at this, John, as like the Adrian Peterson case. I think it's an unconvictable case.
Unless they have some, was there intent on the part of Tony Stewart to deliberately run down Kevin Ward? We'll never know the answer. Only Tony Stewart can answer that. But is there some video out there that can prove Tony Stewart deliberately tried to hit Kevin Ward? Well, we'll see when this thing goes to trial.
Johnny, like it or not, not James, I want to give you the like it or not. The Baltimore Orioles win the American League East.
Why not? Even without Manny Machado and without Chris Davis, who could come back late in the playoffs, Buck Showalter, one thing you can say about Buck, the guy can manage. The guy's one of the best managers in baseball. I love their starting staff, never fell in love with their bullpen, but that lineup is as good as anyone. You look at the American League, that lineup can go toe-to-toe with the likes of Detroit, the likes of the Angels, anyone in the American League. Baltimore, to me, can win the American League. I think they're that good.
Third of those guys. If you take Davis, Machado, and Wieters out of that lineup.
Yeah, and they're still winning games. So in that ballpark, I still like that lineup. I like Buck Showalter. Now, I don't love anybody else in the American League. Oakland may not even get in. I don't love Detroit, right? Even though with that stat, I don't like Detroit, and I don't love the Angels. So why not Baltimore in the World Series?
Like it or not, Mike, Jameis Winston.
I don't like him. I mean, I really don't. And I think he, what does they say? Though that is given, a lot is expected. And Jameis Winston is immensely talented. He has a charisma. He's got appears to be some leadership skills. Yet he acts like a knucklehead all the time. And you are the quarterback. You are a Heisman Trophy winner. I'm not saying you have to be perfect, so people will go back to he's a young kid and all, but him screaming and yelling obscenities in front of the other students at Florida State. And
all armed with camera phones.
Exactly, and gets suspended for half a game. You are supposed to be the guy. And guess what? Knucklehead, all the NFL teams are watching too. So when a time comes to draft him, whenever that is, next year or the year after, whenever he comes out, these are all things people think about because you're not a wide receiver or a defensive end. You are the quarterback. You're the face of the franchise. I don't care how talented he is. Grow up, and it's not happening for him.
It's kind of taken Johnny Manziel to a new level, isn't he, Tariq?
And plus, now you'll see GMs look into the personalities of these guys a lot more. Do I want to give him $40 million? Do I want him at my public events? Do I want to trust him during the offseason?
Yeah, right. He's investigated for rape, which the university now has reopened the investigation. So all eyes are on you. You just went through an incredible personal issue almost a year ago. Now you go do this? Really? Be on your best behavior. Get it.
Then he had the thing with stealing at the store, too.
It's one thing after another.
Jameis Winston, crab legs.
I mean, come on. I'll take Manziel over this kid. Compared to Manziel, I don't think there's any difference, or a big difference, I should say.
All righty, unfinished business when we return. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box. It's time now for Unfinished Business. John DiTullio.
I keep hearing the phrase this week over and over. It's never the wrong time to do the right thing. Let me say, yeah, it is. Do the right thing at the right time. Hindsight is always 20/20. What we saw from the Vikings this week was despicable. Let's face it. I understand owning an NFL franchise is a lot different from, owning Wegmans or owning an insurance company or a law firm. I get it. But the same principles should apply. It's called having decency. It's called integrity and showing some kind of leadership, right? Isn't that what we all want from our leaders, from our company? And if you're a Vikings fan, on Monday, I saw Rick Spielman, the general manager, stand up there and say, Adrian Peterson is going to play. Mark and Ziggy Wolf, the owners, were nowhere to be found. Then on Wednesday, they showed up to say Adrian Peterson is going to be basically suspended with pay for the rest of the season. It was an absolute joke. And the reason they stood up there and said that, one reason and one reason only, wasn't integrity, right? It wasn't righting a wrong, or is that the right phrase? It was because Radisson, one of their sponsors, bailed out. And Anheuser-Busch sent a scathing email to the NFL. And I got to believe Roger Goodell, who's been, the phantom the last week or so, probably got on the phone and told the Wilfs, you better tell Adrian to sit down and not play for a while. It's an absolute joke. The NFL is a joke. The Vikings are a joke. Leadership, right? Come on, step up. And how about showing some leadership?
Thank you, John. Tariq?
Well, for a number of you, these great discussions on what's going on outside of the game, you've had enough of. But to be honest with you, they're all important to what's going on the field. I'm going to concentrate just what's going on the field, especially in the NFC East, where you're looking at a quarterback in a commercial that never plays in a game. His backup may take over the franchise. For the Giants, 2 Super Bowls, yet you haven't won a game this year. for the Dallas Cowboys, I mean, have you gone to Twitter when Tony Romo throws an interception? I mean, it's like a comedy routine. Everybody's got a joke, from Uncle Rico to you won't believe this. My biggest thing, though, is the Philadelphia Eagles. Here's an organization that took a college coach, came in, ran a brand new offense, gone Deshaun Jackson, gone Michael Vick, all the stars, and put in Nick Foles. Nick Foles, Darren Sproles, they're running this entire NFC East. They're the ones to watch. Kirk Cousins now gets a chance to prove that old adage, everybody loves the backup quarterback until he plays. So for the NFC East, this once dominant league, the biggest stars aren't performing well. It's the guys just getting a chance to play, proving they belong.
It's great watching the games, isn't it?
Yeah.
Best back in football, Shady McCoy.
Yeah,
Boy.
and
Not-
Sproles to help him.
No doubt about that.
Welcome to the Eagles Club, you guys. All right, I want to talk about the NFL, but I'm going to talk about the off-field thing. There's a couple of things we hear about the NFL, that it stands for not for long. And there's another phrase they use all the time, next man up. And this is something I think NFL owners, general managers, everybody needs to keep in mind when there are these off-the-field issues. No one cares about the individual. This is not LeBron James playing in the NBA or trying to replace Michael Jordan in the league. Guess what? They move on to the next guy. Injuries every week. So if it ends up being a suspension, whatever reason Adrian Peterson doesn't play, the league doesn't care. Fans don't care. He missed the whole season 2 years ago. Ratings are through the roof. People love the game. The individuals are nice. And just like Tariq said, well, okay, is Robert Griffin, put in Kirk Cousins. If he plays well, everybody forgets about RG3. That's the NFL. Not for long, next man up. So organizations, when it comes to your players, I don't care who the guy is. Next man up. Guy makes a mistake, move on. No one player is worth that much to an organization. Not even Peyton Manning with the Denver Broncos. They'll move to the next guy. It's just a matter of how quickly they want to do it.
Very good. I didn't feel guilty at all last week watching the football games. And I don't feel like I should. Nicely done, gentlemen. John, thank you again.
Billy, my pleasure to be here.
Michael, good work.
Thanks.
Tariq, pleasure to have you. We'll do this again.
Glad to be here.
Thank you for joining us on the original Rochester Press Box, and we'll see you next week.